What's up, guys? Coach Gaglione here. This is another Gags Goals update, and this is the return to Mr. America. So I'm going to recap the Mr. America strict curl event. This was ran by the APA. I have some feelings about, how the meet went and, just bar choices in general. It's kind of fitting that the same weekend that this meet happened was the same weekend as ABS did their untested stiff bar meet. And it kind of brings up a good point, deadlift bar versus stiff bar, squat bar versus power bar, specialty, powerlifting bars in general. And, should you even bother kind of putting yourself on hard mode, so to speak. So using this Hampton bar, a more traditional easy bar, I was probably over 20 pounds weaker when I first started the bar. I certainly closed the gap. I did a tune-up meet, and I hit a 170-pound curl really easy, and then you'll kind of see what happens here. But there's probably a good anywhere from a 10 to 20 pounds, so we'll call it 15-pound difference from my all-time strength. But these are my warm-ups here. I also kind of went into this meet with, I partially tore my hamstring. I put on a bunch of weight and, gaining too much body fat. It just kind of put a little bit of a damper in my progress, but overall I was very happy with the strength I accumulated. My upper body's feeling really strong right now. The platform from Legacy Powerlifting was great, and I got to lift some friends. So here's Kareem here. So I think that when it comes to longevity and when it comes to really kind of pushing your max poundages, I think using the specialty equipment is kind of the way to go. I think kind of a big thing is just kind of having people kind of agree on certain standards. And the thing that I wasn't really happy about with this particular meet, we already have a lot of some meets on the West Coast use the OBZ bar, which does have some bends to it, but this is, again, so I think kind of introducing a third bar into the equation is just a little bit overkill. But nonetheless, it was kind of cool just to kind of, test myself and kind of do that. So that was my last warm up here. And then you can kind of just see, I'm just going to talk through the meet. There was a lot of variances in ability levels. We had a lot of lifters, Eduardo, Illa, Kareem, that have kind of come up through our kind of strict curl circuit with the RPS and with Strict Curl Nation. And, Eduardo is a strict curl lightweight pro with 100% raw. And actually, he got bested by a newcomer, Illa, who kind of came through our system. But anyways, it was cool just to kind of... So you'll see Illa here. He ended up winning best lifter at the meet. I think he curled 140 pounds in the 165 weight class, which again, it's getting close to body weight. He's using a wide grip, and so he had a little bit of trouble with the rack there, but did really well. You could see that he's got a really good technique, really smooth, position, really kind of locking in there. And one of the things that I was not kind of prepared for is kind of where I think certain things we should. It'd be great if kind of powerlifting, meet directors kind of got together and just kind of agreed on certain things. So most curl federations have two commands. There's, a start command and a rack command. And usually what's kind of agreed on is that the judging is over after the rack command. And in the APA, there's a down command, there is a rack command, and you'll see on my third attempt, I end up kind of just bringing it in a little early, and I just kind of blacked out for a second. But I was really happy with my performance today. I opened with 150 pounds, went up to 160. 160 was pretty challenging. Anything 159, which I believe is 70, anything more than 72.5 kilos was really challenging for me. So you can kind of see Kareem there, his back is coming off the wall. And again, no shade to him because I don't think that he should have gotten fouled for that anyway. But again, in my interpretation of kind of the rule book, I just wasn't really sure, again, how the kind of commands were given. But again, that should have been something I got clarification on, and but overall it was a good show. Again, a lot of lifters kind of came through, through our kind of promotions of the event, and the Mr. America event for me in particular is very special because in 2020 I kind of did my first and only bodybuilding show and my bodybuilding debut, and probably my first and only show that I will do. It was a big bucket list thing. I really looked great. I took second in the amateur division, and super happy with that. So I don't know if we'll flash photos. I probably won't flash photos for that, but you guys can do a little research if you search Gaglione bodybuilding Mr. America. So was very happy with that. And this was, again, a great showcase of some lightweight lifters, some heavyweight lifters, myself and Kareem. And, Mr. America just kind of embodies, all things strength sports. They had kettlebell lifting, they had strongman, they had adaptive strongman, which was cool. And I think that kind of I think my sentiment here is just, go out there and challenge yourself, go out there and don't worry about always, if it's the perfect scenario. So I wanted to kind of, just challenge myself with this bar. And again, it meant a lot to me for me to compete at Mr. America again. I've been kind of coaching here the last couple of years. Strict Curl Nation was here for a few years, and then I'm not exactly sure what happened with that, but it was cool to see Strict Curl come back, and I hope that it stays in the rotation, again, whether it be APA or, really whatever federation wants to kind of hold it. But Robbie was great. The platform was great. So I think that was, so you can kind of see here I was able to wait for the rack command there. And I was, doing it pretty damn strict. But 160 was good. And then Kareem was always he opened a little bit ahead of me, so he was kind of ahead of me from the start. But he ended up hitting this 165 curl. And again, Kareem's a really great guy. And we have a very similar kind of go for a bar max, which is kind of like the more accepted kind of specialty bar. But overall, that was pretty smooth. I mean, his technique's getting better. You can kind of see he's a little sloppy, on the way down. But again, the judging should be over at that point anyway. And then these are our third attempts here. So, but the platform felt good. I didn't really like that there wasn't. You could kind of see with Angelo, he had to kind of step up and over. But I kind of just floated a little bit, and I was able to. But the platform felt really good. And you can kind of see with this bar, it just kind of hits you like a wall. So definitely was a hard bar, and I do think that if you are someone that does train on a deadlift bar, I do think that there is some potential benefit to using different bars, not just specialty bars, whether they be different types of straight bars. Sometimes maybe use a power bar, sometimes use a squat bar, sometimes use a deadlift bar, sometimes use a stiff bar. I think just being strong with different angles is kind of good, and I think it's good. But I will say when you're trying to do absolute poundages, I think using the specialty bar. So in my opinion, if you're going to try to curl the most amount of weight humanly possible, you want to use a bar that has your elbow as your biceps, your forearms a little bit less exposed. So essentially straight bar, you'd be the most exposed. And then if you look at something like a U bar, which is something they kind of use in some of the overseas federations, and Ed did a nice job of kind of saving that last lift. I believe that was 140 pounds. And he was able to kind of wait for that rack command. So good job saving the lift. And then I believe, so this would be, this was an all-time PR attempt. This is 166 pounds on the Hampton bar. And like I said, you'll kind of see here, I kind of black out for a second. I kind of beat the rack command a little bit. But again, I was happy with this lift. It was, again, at the end of the day, I'm doing this for fun. Especially doing this kind of quote unquote hard mode challenge. Like I said, so the ABS kind of did their untested meet with a power bar. So again, and I don't really think that's a great idea for people that are kind of squatting north of 6, 7, certainly 800 pounds. It's going to be a lot whippier. So in the case of the strict curl, the gopher bar is going to be a little bit more pronated, a little bit more of an advantageous mechanical advantage grip, and it's going to put your biceps, shoulders, elbows, wrists, etc. in just a stronger position. But you'll kind of see here, was able to kind of fight it, kind of got a little out of position a few times, had to really grind there. But normally for me, I would usually smoke it and or not get it. So I was happy I was able to grind. I was happy I was able to kind of save the lift because that's just something I haven't been able to do in competition. So even though it didn't count, I know in any other federation, I at least wouldn't have got fouled for missing a command. So. But I am excited to kind of get back to the gopher bar. And again, you can see Kareem. I put some pressure on Kareem, but again, if I had gotten that lift, then I would have had the heaviest curl of the day. And you can see Illa's going for, I don't know if this was a state or national record, but let's see how he does here. So this was our last lift of the day. Or maybe second to last lift of the day. So he was kind of going back and forth. So yeah, he did fantastic. I think this is 142 pounds at around a 160, 165 body weight. Really, really well. And I know he's going to come down to the World Championships in Virginia with 100% Raw, and I think Ed just didn't have anything left in the tank, and he did do some arm wrestling the day before, but really, really good day. I want to thank Legacy Powerlifting for putting this on, and I think he just ran out of steam there, but return for the Miss America was a success. This was also a 1-year anniversary for myself and Katie's marriage, so it was a really special day. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, stay strong, and we'll see you soon. See ya.